This is another tutorial in a series about the potential educational uses of Flickr.com, and this particular tutorial is going to cover how students can curate a gallery of other people's photographs that have been uploaded to Flickr given a particular topic that you've assigned them. So they won't be taking these pictures themselves, but rather looking through the hundreds of millions of photographs that have been collected on Flickr by people all over the world and finding things that represent different things that you've been working on in class. So some potential educational uses of this, for example, is to ask students to curate a gallery of maybe photography techniques like the rule of thirds or excellent use of light in a photograph. Perhaps they'd find pictures of the occurrence of the golden ratio in math or fractals in nature, so they would curate galleries of pineapples and pine cones. They could be asked to find photos of items of varying acidities, or they could find photos of examples of different types of acids and bases and talk about what that means in their descriptions. They could find photographs of important places on Earth to conserve, either environmentally or culturally. This could be sort of a persuasive piece where they are assigned to research that kind of idea on their own and choose some places that are special to them for some reason. They could be asked to make a collection of photographs that represent their reaction to a novel or a piece of text and then justify the inclusion of those photographs in their descriptions. Of course, probably a pretty easy option to come up with is just collecting photographs of a particular country in the way of their cultural or physical geography, maybe some facts about their beliefs and those kinds of things. Certainly, given the vast contributors to Flickr, they'll find pictures from places all over the world. They could collect pictures of various bugs or animals and write about their taxonomy or their habitat or their measurements in the descriptions. They also could collect a series of photographs of just people engaged in various activities, running, jumping, eating, etc., and then perhaps describe those activities in a foreign language that they are currently learning and using the proper verb tenses and whatnot. If you have an ELL student, perhaps they could choose the same kinds of pictures but describe those activities in English in the description. Also, perhaps they could gather evidence of a particular economic system in action in a country through the photographs, looking at pictures of markets perhaps versus pictures of large groups of soldiers, deciding what people are capable of doing in their particular country. So those are just a few options, but certainly the possibilities are really endless. You just have to kind of think about your particular curriculum. So if we return to Flickr, I can just quickly show you how this is done. Again, it's quite simple. Students are logged into their own accounts at this point, and they're going to create this gallery themselves. They could work in partners if they'd like, or something like that, depending on what you want to assign them. So all they need to do is start searching for pictures. And we'll use the example of finding some sort of evidence of a cultural truth about a country. So if I were a student and I were assigned to research Japan, and I did research on Japan, and I found out that many Japanese practice the Buddhist religion, perhaps I'd want to include a picture that had something to do with that. So I'd just come up here to the search, and I would type in Japan and Buddhism. And I'll go ahead and search. A number of pictures are going to pop up, and Flickr has a few choices in terms of what kinds of photographs they find. They can choose relevant, and this is just with the tags of your search terms. You can look at the most recently uploaded pictures. There are thousands of pictures uploaded to Flickr every minute, so certainly the recent would change. Or they can look at interesting. Oftentimes these photographs are ones that have been marked by others as particularly good in terms of the photography or being a kind of a different approach to things. You can see here that there's a example of something built out of Legos having to do with Japanese culture. So the interesting will also get them some good choices, but they probably want to choose relevant over the other two at first, at least to gather their pictures. So here we see several photographs of the bell sets that they use at Buddhist altars in Japan, and maybe I would choose to add one of those because I think this is a good artifact of their religion. So once a student has clicked on the photograph, all they need to do is click Add to Gallery. Since this is the first picture we're adding to this gallery, we're going to have to create a new gallery. And so we're going to type in Japan as our gallery name, and then we would type in a description of what we're going to be including pictures of about Japan. And again, maybe this would include some cultural facts and physical geography And again, you can decide the parameters of what you want students to discuss or include in this description. It can be quite long, so you can have them write some paragraphs about the particular topic, whatever you'd like. So we're going to go ahead and create our gallery, and then this has been added to our new gallery. So we're going to click OK. Now, we could continue to look for pictures. Perhaps let's go ahead and add a picture of Mount Fuji just to enhance our gallery a little bit, and then we'll look at what the gallery looks like quickly. So here are a number of pictures, and again, they get an opportunity to choose some really beautiful things, and we'll go ahead and just choose this photograph. Looks like a nice use of photography, stop motion photography. So it will load up this picture of Mount Fuji at night, and we're going to go ahead and add this to our gallery as well. Now you can see that we can choose this gallery that we've already created. So we want to add this to our Japan gallery, and it's been added. Easy as that. Now, at this point, students can return to their gallery and edit it a little bit to make it a little bit more detailed. So they simply go to You and choose Your Galleries, and this will take them to their whole collection of galleries. And we see our Japan gallery here. It has 2 photos, the ones we've just added. And here then is the collection of photographs so far. Now, what's neat about this in part is that this gives them a dedicated website for this particular gallery, and students can copy and paste this into an email or somehow post it on the classroom wiki or to Blackboard so that other students can access it, and you also can access it to see what they've located. So this then allows for possibly a good teaching tool as well if students are working in groups to develop collections about different topics. So as students then collect their pictures, what they want to do is explain why they chose each photograph. So this is where I might type something about how many Japanese, I could say, are Buddhist. And then I could go on to explain what this spell set is used for, how it works, some things about Buddhism in Japan, perhaps some facts and statistics if that's required. But this is a place for them to talk about each picture, again, in maybe a way that you've determined in terms of your requirements. But it's really nice for the students to have choices here about what they add to their galleries. And that's a nice part of the student-directed piece. And you can add comments down here. You could require other students to comment on students' galleries as sort of an interactive piece of this. And that's really all there is to it. So they're able to create as many galleries as they want for all sorts of various reasons. And then they just would, again, go back to their galleries and see the kinds that they have. So hopefully this tutorial has given you some ideas about another way to use Flickr in your classroom.